communities. My name is Sue Roscoff. The Disability Channel, or TDC, is out of Toronto, Ontario, Canada, showcasing abilities. TDC is committed to providing quality digital media production services, education, and employment programs by and for persons with disabilities and veterans. TDC offers digital media production, video production, post-production, social media, and podcast creation, production, and support. TDC offers education and employment programming, which includes digital media courses to persons with disabilities who are unemployed and underemployed. TDC also offers community partnerships. Through partnerships and sponsorships, community partners and organizations become ability champions by supporting media created by and for people with disabilities. We are your USA team, and we are so excited to bring in some wonderful friends to join us tonight. So first up, I'm going to go ahead and bring in Marianne of Waikiki. She's been a longtime friend of our show and longtime friend. We go way back at this point. So I'm so glad to have you here tonight. You can go ahead and share a little bit about who you are and love what you do. So come on in, Marianne.
Well, aloha, and thank you so much, Sue and Emily and Kurt, for hosting the show. I'm Marianne Ambrose. I go by Marianne of Waikiki. It's my sign language name, my book author name, and I'm the author of the Acts of Kindness series, featuring 200 folk manus animal character puppets, with a soundtrack by Lucy and the Perfect Wave. So the books are written for animation movies, for ocean cleanup, anti-bullying, which is October is anti-bullying month. We're back to school now, and we're working on the climate change book. And so we have a series of books. I have a YouTube channel now featuring the characters where you can visit YouTube, the Acts of Kindness series, and you can meet our characters in our book, Rabbit Acts of Kindness, No Bully, featuring Harry the Hard of Hearing Rabbit, who has a sign language interpreter chicken named Chelsea the Courageous Sign Language Chicken, and Eve the Finger Spelling Bumblebee. And both of them do the ASL 26 letters of the finger spelling alphabet on YouTube. And you can read the chapters of the book, and then we have online courses on Apple to so go out and play. The Apple app games today, and you can test your sign language finger spelling skills with these app games and your number skills as well. So everybody wins. So it's back to school, and all classroom teachers in the United States of America can receive copies of the books. And we now have 3 coloring books featuring these characters doing the ASL finger spelling alphabet. So teachers with a teacher ID can request books that are reading level 8 and above, but for all ages of the heart. Again, for ocean cleanup, especially at the Great Pacific Garbage Patch between Hawaii and California, where I live. And I was the sign language interpreter for a deaf man for over a decade. And I got to sail around the Hawaiian Islands as well, sharing the stories of the acts of kindness, of peace, love, happiness, and thanks. So last year's Sue Donors Choose was supported by Subaru Hawaii with $25,000 to teachers requesting products for their classrooms. So we want to multiply the acts of kindness to get that message out here. So again, thank you for having me on that platform to do that. And I have one other story to share with you. This past July, I applied for Awesome Grant Foundation in the island of Oahu for $1,000, and I won. So we are going to be gifting the Waikiki School for the Deaf on October 14th, coloring books, and a water unit from Leon McLaughlin from Clean Water Foundation. He's the founder in Seattle, who will be visiting the islands again, and he will be gifting them a water unit. Also part of that grant, I used it to hire on Jay Stoyan of the Disability Channel, who supports this show in the World of Ability, where I met everybody through World of Ability and Happy Neighborhood projects. So I was a co-host and a sign language interpreter. Now I'm a weekly guest speaker, and I'm going to be interviewed tomorrow on the Disability Channel with 32 million subscribers. So that grant is supporting additional persons with disabilities, such as veterans, to help with the media uh, broadcasting of my interview and these books and products. So I'm really excited that I have such a supportive team, and we'll be interviewed for the next 4 months, especially with Santa Papa Jonan will be joining us. And tomorrow, Dr. Liddy, my intellectual property attorney, will be joining us talking about how we are federally trademarking, copywriting, what authors can do to protect your intellectual property. So we're going to have some great topics on the Disability Channel. So join us tomorrow, 11 Eastern, Facebook with Dave Stoya. So back to you, Sue and Emily. Thank you so much. Mahalo. I'm Marianne of YPT.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Marianne. There's exciting things coming up and some wonderful things that you've done. I know we've got lots of different stories, and before we get into more, though, I am going to go ahead and bring in our next lovely guest. Deby Miller is joining us tonight as well, another Midwest lady here that we've gotten to know over the years, and I consider a good friend at this point, even though we've yet to meet in person. I always see you in a box. I always see you on my little Zoom screen, but I love it. It's so nice to have you here. You want to go ahead and share a bit about yourself, please, Deby?
Thank you. Yes, I do live here in the Midwest, but I have some great roots that reach to Wisconsin. So I love being able to call you my neighbor, even though we've actually never actually met in person. But I drive past your area when I do go to Wisconsin. I'll have to shout out one of these days and stop for coffee. I'm with Prepaid Legal Services Inc., and I love helping families and small businesses out have access affordably to legal teams in their area. Obviously all of us need our own legal assistance, and being able to have it with the ability that it's not going to break the bank, and you can actually do your wills and leave your family with a roadmap instead of that scavenger hunt that we often hear about. But also to help our families set up things for with their families when they're not there, or if they need to have some extra help as well. So our attorneys actually help with a lot of our disability families in many different ways. And just having that ability to talk to somebody about the law and know what the facts are instead of just winging it, or as I think consider, as we moms, Sue, have a lot of opinions. Unfortunately, the law don't necessarily represent our opinion, and so having that legal team there to help protect us, keep us all safe and legal is a great advantage. And when you can do it at an affordable rate, that makes it even better.
Excellent. Thank you so much for being here tonight. And I know one topic I would love to just touch on here is relevant today, because right now the Paralympics are taking place. So we're all familiar with the Olympics, but it's a big deal. Well, what about the Paralympics? Are people familiar with the Paralympics? Actually, one thing that I am so excited to see happening is when you go on just to do a Google search. If you ever go to Google and are going to type in, there's every day they have something different at the top, some different graphic or picture. There is a different Paralympic sport at the top right now. Every day there's a different one. Have you guys seen that? Have you noticed this? I love it.
That's great. I've seen some even on Facebook, when I'm going on and I'm like, oh, wow, this is exciting to watch things. I was watching one sport. I'm not really sure. Can't remember what it was. I'm like, I have no idea what this sport is. Even without the wheelchairs, I'm like, okay, I don't know what this is, but it's interesting to watch.
It's a great chance to learn something new like that, and that, oh my gosh, the athletes that are involved, it is impressive to see. I know we have a couple local people that are at the Olympics right now and competing. One of the best wheelchair sport locations where it's at UW Whitewater is probably maybe an hour away from where I am here in Wisconsin. So University of Wisconsin Whitewater has a wheelchair basketball team that is the best out there. As far as I'm aware, I've heard so many good things about the program they have. There's several of the athletes that came through that program are the ones competing at the Paralympics right now. So
Awesome.
it is amazing. And I know when I was looking at the roster and the pictures, there's at least 2 faces I recognize that over the years we've gotten to water ski with. And they joined us using the sit ski and having that chance to do a different sport. So it's, it's so much fun. So many opportunities out there. Now, I do see also Kurt is joining us tonight, so I want to make sure to give him a chance to say hello. And whenever you're ready to hop on in here, just let me know.
All right, I can jump on in here. Yeah, I just came from an event called The Open Mind by a friend of ours, Stan Anderson. And we were talking about self-image and the importance of self-image, the role that self-image plays in our lives, and how it steers and fuels our accomplishments and achievements. And, the whole conversation actually did inspire me to bring up about the Paralympics and to talk about, how, to get to Paris, and to be a part of everything we're talking about. And then, kind of how that stimulates for other people around the world to think of that self-image of being a competitive athlete, being a person, with physical disability and whatever, and to go represent a country, how prestigious is that? And, and I also brought up about, on the topic of self-image, I brought up that other issues of equity, play into it as well. So, looking at like this election coming up, and there is a, female candidate, and what that does to the future with girls, that, that can create a self-image for girls that, hey, makes it real that someday they too could become president of the U.S., leader of the free world, so gender equity and stuff like that. So I look at all that intersectionality is what the advocates have taught me it is that when you kind of combine demographics to say sometimes a person is representative of, different, different aspects of what a person can be in minority groups, and, have an overlap there, representing a handful of different minority groups all at the same time.
Excellent. When you talk about where do you see yourself, right? That is something. When I was a kid, I thought water skiing looked like a lot of fun. I could see myself doing that, but didn't really have much opportunity. It just wasn't around me much. And I kind of wonder how that plays into, I guess, have you ever thought about that? How that actually plays into what we end up doing? Do you ever picture yourself doing any of these things, doing tennis, I'm thinking sports here when we're talking Paralympics? You have to actually take that leap of picturing yourself doing it. Go try. Like Marianne says all the time, go out and play. Go try new things. Go try a sport. We're so lucky in the Milwaukee area here to have a group called the Ability Center. They give us the opportunity to literally do what they call try on a new pair of shoes, or a different pair of shoes. Sorry. It's playing a sport with a different pair of shoes, literally wheelchair sports. So it's just a different way to think about it. A lot of us have played basketball. Have you ever tried doing it from a wheelchair? And if you've never seen a sporting chair, it's built different than the wheelchair you may have seen your grandparents in or something. It's not. It's built for sports. And even those athletes that are amazing basketball shots, they can do all the things. Well, now sit down in a wheelchair and try doing that. It changes the game. But it's the same game. It's just a little different. And now the stand-up athlete needs to adapt to what it's like to be seated. There's adaptations all over the place. And if you picture yourself doing these things, you can do them. Sometimes it just takes a moment for somebody to recommend it, to have that come up in a conversation. If you've never considered it, you're never going to do it. But you know what? Try. Look for these opportunities. It's so much fun. I know, Debbie, you had mentioned in a previous conversation that you've been to some games. I believe was it volleyball games that with the athletes are all deaf. Tell me a little bit about what that's like as an audience member, getting to watch a sport being played maybe a little differently.
Yeah, well, just the fact of the communication, obviously, between the team, but as we, I think you were mentioning earlier that somehow the team has to communicate with the coach, and of course, then there's the referees that are trying to communicate as well. So there's a lot of different aspects to do it. It doesn't really mean it's different, but it's still different. And so it's just a little extra, I don't know, an extra flavor to the whole game that makes it really pretty awesome. So, but it was really interesting to watch, and I get to know. I mean, a sport that I love, and that other people can enjoy it, even though it's different, but it's still the same. And yeah, I guess it's we keep saying that it's the same, but it's different, and that sort of is confusing. But that's the way it really is. It's the same, but it's still different. And so, but it doesn't mean it's wrong or right. It just means that you have to. Well, as our friend Denise often mentions, you just have to decide whether you're going to do it, and then figure out how to do it. And Denise is a pro at figuring out many different ways to do things just because that's what she wanted to do. So
it's like the water skiing. We tend to do the stand-up water skiing, but there's also sit-down water skiing using a sit ski. It's still water skiing. It's just different. And there's lots of different types of skis out there. It's just another type. And it's all depends on how you look at it, right? I think it's so much fun to consider all the different adaptive sports that are out there that I'm betting people don't even realize are options. Kurt, can I just ask you for a moment to talk a little bit about years back, there was the sporting expo that took place. It was like an all abilities sports expo. Share a little bit about what that was here in the Milwaukee area, where there was so many different types of adaptive sports that were made available.
Yeah, we're talking here in southeast Wisconsin with the Medical College of Wisconsin and the Milwaukee VA and Disabled American Veterans, Paralyzed Veterans of America, and Independence First, and Wisconsin Water Ski Federation, and on down the line, 60 partners, 50 renditions of adaptive sports and rec, including rock climbing walls and track and field formats, tennis, wheelchair tennis, and seated volleyball, and the pool at this, because it was on the grounds of a high school, so the high school had an indoor pool, and they were able to get the kayaks in there, so adaptive kayaking, and adaptive scuba diving. So you got the aquatics there. So yeah, you go down the list, 50 different forms like this. And the one that I think stands out for me is goal ball, which is brought to us by athletes who are blind or visually impaired. Because a lot of what we do in sports is visually driven. So they took, for a gymnasium sport, you can play it outdoors too, but it's really nice to be in an indoor court for goal ball. And then inside the ball is a bell that rattles, like a rattle bell. And so when you roll it, you're hearing that bell, so that you're using your hearing perception to figure out where that ball is through your ears. And so those of us who are sighted, we put blinders on so that our sight is blacked out, So sight is not helping us. And, so tactily, by feeling around and maybe a little memory in terms of when you go do something, okay, now your memory to get back to where home base is for you and your spot, the best you can do that. And, to kind of pay attention where you're hearing this ball going around and through this perception. And those of us who are sighted, we have that aspect of imagery in your mind's eye. You're able to, before you put the blinders on, you have that visual reference. For those who were born blind, they don't go off of that, but it's pretty amazing how keen these athletes are and can really show us sighted people how to take something like goal ball and really outdo us. I want to segue a little bit into a story that I tell. I want to come back a little bit to that self-image conversation we were in, and with the water skiing. I've told this story before, but I want to tell it again because I think it applies here. That one night on a Tuesday, a few years back, or a handful of years back, I came up out of the water on a Tuesday night on practice, and I gathered up my skis and I looked over my right shoulder, and there was a gentleman at a tree looking on, and I look over to him like, "Hey, anything you like out there? Does it look like we're doing anything right? What are you thinking?" And it started a little banter, and we got deep into it for a bit there. And I started to find out things about his attraction to the lake and, his lake living and, things that he does around the lake, maybe casting a fishing pole and, liking the aspect of boating and so on and so forth. And I looked at him and I'm like, "How about joining the club?" And, there's just a little taste of the silence there, but this silence went for a while and I persisted. I just looked there and I just let the space, the activity with water skiing was going on in the back. And I just looked at it and I kept my nonverbal communication that, I really want to know, what about joining the club? After that awkward delay, the best he could come up with is, "I thought you had to be somebody." Whoa, for me, that was heavy, because that's what we do. 100 of us around, doing this activity, and we seem like elitists or something, and it seems like it's untouchable. So like Sue talked about how she had the access and she could easily jump in. She didn't. The kids talked her into joining the club, and she made the transition there. But here we have a community member looks on and has this self-image like, "Oh, that looks like a lot of fun, but it's not for me. I'm not somebody that can do that." So I really get into this advocacy space and community organizing and everything I do. That's what I live for. I want to make sure whatever we do in life, that the people I'm with form that thing to make sure everybody can do that thing. Back to you, Sue.
Awesome. And that goes right in with what we're all here talking about, the Today Show communities. We are all a community, and sometimes a person can feel like they're outside of whatever the community is, but I think that takes all of us opening our eyes to see what's going on, asking the questions, being inviting. It is so huge. And Marianne, I want to go ahead and pass it back to you, and I'm curious what your thoughts are here.
I wanted to thank you for sharing that story. I don't know if you had an opportunity to talk to Patty today, but she's a retired teacher who had me on her podcast, and she sends these newsletters, and they're inspiring, and it's a to-do list or a to-be list. And we'll be talking about that in future shows with her and Jay. So I don't know if Kurt had the opportunity to talk to her about that. Hopefully she's going to join us tomorrow on the Disability Channel, being interviewed as an author as well. But I just wanted to share with you, in Hawaii, my deaf friend that I interpreted for, he went sailing with us, and his service dog, Whoopi. And so they were crew. And, with a person who's deaf, their senses are more attuned with, vision. And so he was a great lookout, crew with the captain. And we also were healers. And the captain of the sailboat was a chiropractor, and his wife was an acupuncture instructor in Honolulu. So we got the best self-care treatment with sailing and talking about self-care too, Kurt. So, we go to these activities, we have great fun, but we need to let our bodies rest, especially with injury. And self-care is what we promote. And we got to become Reiki healers. And it got me some opportunities to sail with other captains, to be hired on and travel on a luxury sailboat around the Hawaiian Islands, which could be very costly to somebody. But I got to do some of that stuff because I learned some other techniques as well for self-healing for these athletes. So just sharing the good news with you as well was a great opportunity. And and the service dog went too.
So thank you so much. So Deby, I do want to give the mic back to you for just a moment here to share some final thoughts from today.
Well, I love being part of this group, and I appreciate hearing all the exciting things and ways of diversity and for the lives of all of our people here in the United States, or all over the world, actually, with athletes being in Paris right now. So that's just fantastic to help broaden all of our minds and help us to all to dream bigger and look for better and other opportunities. Thank you for having us.
Awesome. And I know we talk about the sporting events coming up, and it's happening now with the Paralympics, but one more that's coming up. We know the Invictus Games is next February. It's coming fast. I felt like it was so far off in the future, but it's going to be here before we know it. It's next February. It is a Paralympic type sport, but it is for our military friends that are the participants in that. And I am so excited to see where that all goes, what it all includes. And I'm sure we'll be talking more about that in the future here as well. This is a great thing that the Disability Channel is able to participate with. And I'm excited to see what all ends up coming with it. So I just have one last thing to be able to do here. Give me 1 second on my screen. So Emily, I want to bring you in so that you can go ahead and share one thing about what is coming up in October for the Disability Channel. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to you.
Okay, well, so I am going to bring this up here. So the Disability Channel is going to be having a fundraiser in October 12th, from 6 p.m. to midnight Eastern. And I have a flyer here. So it's a free event. I think they're calling it reservations. And all donations are going towards the Veterans House Alliance International. And there's also going to be a 50-50 raffle. And so I would encourage everybody to I believe there's going to be a special guest, Dave Rage and the Teenage Head. I think it's a music group, as well as Freedom Train. There's another musical group. I would encourage everybody to check out the Disability Channel and I'll support them in any way you're able to, whether that's financially or not. I think they're doing some great work, so that's kind of what I have to say at the moment about that.
Very good. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us here tonight. Kurt, I'm going to pass it back to you for a final thought.
Yeah, we'll just be real quick here. Marianne and Deby came to us through the Happy Neighborhood Project, and I'm really working to have you, Sue, and Emily, and Marianne, and Deby, that we lead the way on using this wonderful resource from the Happy Neighborhood Project, gobrunch.com/HMP247 networking. So what we do with our shows and so forth, trying to create a habit that while we're going doing other stuff on our computer, answering emails, taking phone calls, whatever it is, we can all congregate here and have a little co-working space. And as we keep bringing people in here, inviting people to it, that they can come around the clock 24/7. It's a great way to connect and keep this community work and promoting your shows and finding out what other people are doing right here at HMP Happy Business Networking. So with this Go Brunch platform, it's available for everybody. Let's do it together. Back to you, Sue.
Excellent. That's perfect. Talking about communities, that is a great community that has brought so many of us together. And that is an opportunity 24/7. You can go there anytime and just kind of see who's in the house. Go check it out, say hi, and see who you'll meet. You never know who you might meet next time you go in there. Because this whole group here has come together exactly that way, by just chance meeting. You never know where life takes you. Take a chance. Go meet people. Go do something. As Marianne always says, go out and play. I absolutely love that. Building community is huge. It works. We need each other, and that you guys are wonderful being here, joining us tonight. Thank you so much for all that you do. As always, from us here at the Today Show Communities, we thank you. I think we're clear. I turned my recording off. It must be the Otter note taker that's still saying recording up there. Awesome. I am actually going to go ahead and click on where my Zoom, the YouTube